Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free, impartial advice on all your debt.
Garcia continue his rapid ascent.
Campbell.
This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special, and there's no hype.
Razabani for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. With me, one and only Mr. Dave Coldwell. Dave, how are we this evening?
I'm very good. It's been a nice evening. Just finished our last football session with the kids and given all the Christmas cards and things like that, and got some presents off of them. So it was nice, really nice.
I texted you earlier.
All set for Christmas now.
I said I texted you earlier and I said, Dave, I've got to get you one more time before the year runs out in this difficult year. If you were to sum up this year, have you got a few words?
Oh, fucking hell! I think you just used them. Saying difficult. It's been tough, hasn't it? But listen, it's been without doubt the toughest year for sport since I've been involved in, and I've been in boxing 30 years. This year was 30 years for me in November, so it was quite a milestone for me. But yeah, it's been the toughest because there's a lot of unknowns. You know, I've managed to get a couple of my fighters out, but the fighters that aren't with Matchroom, that I look after on a management wise, it's been difficult. You know, luckily I've got Paul McCulloch with MTK. He managed to make his debut. Lee Wood managed to go in the Golden Contract tournament. So he's heading out in this year. But the other guys that I look after, the small all boxing, it's been very difficult because small all boxing is just basically being paused, and it's killed it. And so for them guys, it's been very, very difficult. And I feel sorry for those. You know, I feel sorry for all boxers and everybody that earns a living out of boxing. You know, coaches, managers, everybody. But for those guys on the small all circuit, it's been brutal. And so yeah, it's been a very, very tough year. But thankfully, there has been some movement. Thankfully, we're managing, you know, with Matchroom, with Frank Warren, with MTK, and obviously in America with Top Rank and the other guys. But there's been a few promoters with the big TV networks that have managed to keep the ball going and moving, which is vitally important because it keeps people speaking about the sport. You know, general public, fans. It just keeps them going along the best that we can until we can, you know, have fans back properly. I know we had 1,000 in at AJ, but yeah, we need the fans back. It's been so weird as well with, you know, I've been in the bubbles. I've done 6 bubbles. I've been at 6 shows where there's been no fans, and it's weird, man. It's really weird. And you, I love the atmosphere and interacting with the fans when I go to shows and stuff like that. Anyway, but you really miss it when they're not there, you know. And it's like in between rounds, it's like there's nothing. You're 2 meters away from somebody. You meet away from somebody, however far the seats are. So there's no talking relay, and then you've got this mask on, and then there's nothing to do. There's no interaction. There's nothing. It's like it's weird. But like I said, at least the ball's been carrying on to move, and yeah, hopefully a good year in 2021.
Let's hope so, Dave. Dave, today there's an announcement made from Anthony Joshua's team and himself about a significant contribution that he has made personally himself to the amateur game, to certain gyms around the country. And he did come out and he said, you know, not these words, but he kind of said, I am in a position where I can lead by example. I'm hoping that the government will look at this and say, you know what, let's also fund boxing as well, because it was left out of their initial list of sports that they funded. Yeah. What did you make of Joshua's kind of remarks today?
Well, I haven't seen his statement, but I've seen what he's done, and I think it's a fantastic gesture. It really is. And like he said, he's in that position that he can do that, and it's nice to see that he is choosing to do that, because he doesn't have to. We all like to tell people that have got money how they should spend it, but ultimately they've earned it. Whatever they choose to do with the money, that's down to them. But the fact that he's using his position, so for us, that's got some clout. And if the big guys can make some noise like that, then hopefully the government does look at it. Because at the end of the day, it's all been said about the good that boxing does, but it really does change lives. It really changes lives. It saves lives, and it also, the government don't seem to be interested in that boxing saves lives and it changes lives. But what they should be interested in is the fact that boxing saves the government money, because for every person that goes to jail, it costs money to keep them in jail, just the daily upkeep and everything. But the amount of people that boxing kept out of the prisons has therefore saved the government a lot of money. The coaches, the amateur coaches, the professional coaches that looked after kids coming through, and these guys have done a service for the government that the government aren't recognising and don't really take any notice of. Certainly don't give them any credit. For instance, I wasn't a bad kid, but I was a kid that had bad background at home and at school and no confidence wise. So it set me on, Brendan Ingle, when I walked into that gym, and then the gym environment helped me grow up. That's where I grew up. There are kids that were bad kids that came into that gym that Brendan turned around. I can only speak from what I saw in that gym, and there was countless amount of kids that get into trouble at school, and teachers come in and say they're going down this path, they're going to do this there, and so you see so many kids that would have been bad kids that aren't now, and they've got good jobs, the management, they're working in retail, they're working all sorts of different jobs, just steady jobs, good citizens, so you want to call them. So that is multiplied for what I didn't see. That's what I saw was only a small percentage. So multiply that what I didn't see, and over the years and years and years as well. And then you go into every other amateur boxing club. Then you go into the pro gyms and things like that, where you hear stories of, off the top of my head, John Harding Jr. You hear about stories about how he's turned his life around with boxing and things. There's so many countless stories like that of people how they've changed their lives because of boxing and because of the people in the sport. The coaches, like I said, the amateur coaches, they don't get paid for it. But boxing's not being supported by the government, but yet we are saving the government money in what it costs them. And not just the financial aspect, it's the amount of people, the knock-on effect when people that are, they are suffering from the hands of criminals and things like that. So it's nice that somebody like AJ is shining a light on it. And it'd be even nicer if the government would acknowledge that and, step in and start actually doing something about it.
They want to go back to Saturday, Sunday, early hours in the morning. We saw a masterclass performance by arguably the number one pound for pound fighter in the world in Saul Canelo Alvarez. He defeated Callum Smith. A lot of people gave Callum a real good chance in this fight and said he had one of the best chances of beating Canelo because of his size, his reach, his power. But Canelo proved that he's without doubt one of the best in the world. What was your take on the fight, and what was your reaction?
Just levels, just completely different levels. The thing is when you're in with these elite guys, they do things that you can watch on YouTube, tape, whatever you want to call it. You can watch them, you can study them and study them and study them. And no doubt, Joe Gallagher and Callum Smith studied because we all know how meticulous Joe is. But when you get in the ring with them and when you're up close with them, you see they do things, just the subtlest things, and they do things that are different to normally, good fighters. Callum Smith's a good fighter, a very good fighter. The world champion, Ring Magazine champion. He's a good fighter. He's not just a tall geezer. He's actually a good fighter, but it's not the elite level. And that's the difference. You know, we see it time and time again where we have good fighters, good champions, and they step in at that elite level, and then you just see the difference, you know. And that's ultimately what it was. I know you obviously the bicep. I mean, that just shows you the balls on the kid, because you imagine you're doing a few weights and you tear your bicep and you're stopping and that's it. You're not writing you're picking up a pen with it. You're not using your arm or anything. He's still in there getting punched on it and trying to keep his arm up and trying to throw a jab out of it. You know, he's still trying while he's in there. So it shows you the set of minerals on him. And but it was just him with somebody that's special. Defensively, that's where Canelo, for me, over the last few years has improved so much. It's taken him to another level. You know, the old school parrying, blocking, and riding of punches. And I don't think he had to reach once in order to reach Callum Smith. And that shows you how he controlled that distance, how he got into that distance so well. Because, you know, you would expect, I kind of expected, I thought, well, at those moments when Callum gets him reaching, you know, reaching for a left hook, and if he can counter him, if he can catch him, you know, you think before the fight, even though you're in against somebody as special as that, you just think, well, with the physical attributes, I thought to myself, well, he doesn't have to be as good as Canelo. He just has to be good enough to use his physical attributes over him, you know. And if he can do that, then that gives him a chance in a fight. But then it came to the fight, and it was very one-sided.
Why do you think that was, though? Because obviously we know the bicep took place round 4, 5, 6, maybe. There's guesses around what round the.
Yeah, but from round one, round two, you knew there was a difference in levels.
Yeah, but why wasn't he able to get off with his reach and his advantages from the offset? What was Canelo doing that was making him?
Because of Canelo's defense as he's coming forward. If Canelo's taking shots on the way in, then Callum would have been in the fight, because while you're landing the shots, you're more confident in throwing your shots. You've got more belief in your own punches, so your output will be higher anyway. And also you're taking out the sting away from your opponent. You keep them off balance. You're having them offset, so they're missing as well. So their fatigue level starts coming as well. But when somebody's right in front of you, but they're making you miss, you start losing confidence quick in your own punches. So your own punches become more tentative. So then they're easier to counter and to time over as well. And also Callum doesn't fight. He doesn't fight tall. He doesn't fight like. He's always been the kind of guy, even though his height and reach, fighters do find him, you know. So that doesn't help. But what Canelo's doing defensively, as he's putting the pressure in, how he's cutting him off, his positioning his feet, you know, how he uses his jab. His jab was fantastic, you know. But that puts you in, and it's easy for people to say, oh yeah, but you didn't try to win. You should be. When you're in there and you're throwing, and every time you throw, you miss, or the shots just ride off the gloves, or you know, or getting blocked, and then you're getting hit off the shots. It does it with everybody, you know. Yeah, it stops you from throwing your punches. It stops you. It's a mental block on you. It stops you from throwing because you're losing that belief in your attack, and then you know, then it just becomes harder and harder. And confidence is a massive thing in boxing, and it's very, very underrated. And I don't mean confidence going into a fight. I mean confidence during a fight. You know, when shit's just not working, it's easy to say, yeah, do this. But you're in that process of doubting, especially when you're in against somebody that's a superstar. And while you're having success, and if you get off to a good start, you start feeling good. But then when things start just going a little bit wrong, and when they start getting into their groove, or you feel that they're in that groove, there's nothing worse than when you're throwing your punches and you're not having any success with your punches, and you're getting hit back, and you're getting hit back with power shots, you're getting hit to the body, you're getting hit to the head, and you're getting hurt. There's nothing worse than that. Because it's all right saying, yeah, but you need to do more, you need to throw more. His natural human instinct isn't that. You know, you're feeling that pain, and again, a coach in the corner can be shouting, "Oh, you need to do more. You need to work. You need to throw." But when you're in there and you're getting a hit, you're just not just getting a hit. It's the frustration as well. You start getting frustrated because what you've been working on all through camp, and what before you going into the fight you believe was going to work, you just see it unfolding, and you just see that it's going away. And if you're having some success, it keeps you in there, and you feel as though I'm in the fight. But when you're not having any success really, and you see that everything's getting blocked and everything's getting parried, and this guy just keeps walking you down and just keeps pressuring you, it just breaks your heart, you know. And yes, he's still in there, and he's not quitting. He's not you know, giving up on himself. But it's just the negativity that comes into it, because the confidence ebbs away. You know, I think that's a big thing, especially when we're in, you know, you're in against these elite level fighters. You can almost see a change in the demeanor of a fighter in a corner, and when you talk to them, you can see it in their eyes where they're listening to what you're saying. You can be as positive as what you want, but you can see it how that confidence is draining away from them. And then when confidence starts draining away, there needs to be some sort of reaction off one of your punches to spark that belief back up again. But if you're not getting that, and you're just getting a sustained beating, you're getting more and more tired. You know, you're feeling the shots more and more as the rounds go on. You know, if your fucking biceps killing you, you're feeling that every time it's touching you. If you've got a broken nose, you're feeling that every time a jab's touching you. You know, and all these things are chipping away at the positive vibe that you need in order to believe that you're going to win and to come through, you know.
A lot of people, we lived in an era where it was the Floyd Mayweather era, where everyone, whenever he fought somebody and beat them, people would say, "Oh, another opponent will come," and they'll say, "Oh, he'll beat Floyd. Floyd will beat them." And then another person will come and say, they will say, "Well, he'll beat Floyd, but Floyd will beat him." And the cycle kept going on and on and on. Are we now in the Canelo era where people want to fight him really because they know they'll earn a lot of money? We know that, and fighters deserve that, absolutely. But realistically, between 160 and 168, are there any legitimate challengers that can actually beat him?
I always said beforehand, I did feel as though style-wise that out of Callum and Billy Joe had the better style to beat Canelo, but that's only because of when I've seen him against Lara, Trout, a couple of southpaws that especially the Lara fight, you know, slick southpaws, sharp movers, throw hands. He struggled with that sort of style, but that's a long time ago, and he's improved a lot since those days. His foot position, although we always say, "Oh, he's not got the fastest feet." He's not got the fastest feet, but his position of his feet have got a lot better over the years, and you don't need necessarily need the fastest of feet to beat a mover. You just need to know where to put him. And his all-round ring generalship, I think, has improved so much. I think the Mayweather fight has taught him so much, and he's took from that, and he just keeps getting better and better. So now, and I'm looking at Billy Joe, and I know I get where he's saying, you know, he needs that big fight and he'll be up for it, but Billy would have to be at his absolute best, because Canelo's going to keep on coming, and he's going to be targeting that body to take away his legs. And so I'm probably not as confident in Billy as what I was before. I've always thought, because I've seen Billy and up close, and I think he's brilliant. When he fought Andy Lee, absolutely brilliant. I've seen him in the gym sparring when he was out of shape, fucking brilliant. He's one of the best fighters I've ever seen up close. But I can only go on what I see regular on fight nights. And if I look at what Canelo does consistently during fight, you know, on his fights during fight night, and I look at what Billy does consistently during his fights, then you've got to say that Canelo's the most impressive. You know, you have to, and you have to look at the level of opponents that he's fighting as well. So I would make Canelo a big favourite. So right now, do I see anybody at middle, super middle, 160, 168 beating him? No, I don't. If it goes up to 175 again, I'd like to see him fight Batavia. That's a good fight. You know, that would be a good fight, and that'd be a big challenge, I think. But I won't count him out against him. You know, so I don't know. It just seems to be a fighter that I love his attitude because in the sense of you want your fighters, no matter what level they get to want to keep improving, to want to keep learning in the gym. And he seems as though he keeps learning. You know, he has that drive and he has that ambition to keep improving. And that's not about money, you know, because you can have money and you can feel you're comfortable, but he's got the money and it stacks the money, but yet he's not just training each camp to get fit so he can fight and earn some more money. He's training each camp to get better and to add things to his game, and that's a different level.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. We saw Mikey Garcia was regarded as one of the pound-for-pound top 10 fighters. He went up in weight, beat everybody, and then eventually got to a weight in 147 and Errol Spence took him apart. And it's similar with Canelo. You feel like the higher he goes up, eventually someone will catch him out. But I think he's come out himself and he said, I would never go to cruiserweight. Like light heavies is max.
No. Light heavies max. Yeah. Cruiserweight's too big. It's too big. The guys at that division hit too hard. And they're just too big. But light heavyweight, yeah, well, you know, he's already beaten Kovalev. Obviously, Kovalev wasn't Kovalev at its peak. But to be able to be a great fight. Bivol would be a very good fight. Bivol as well because he's got the feet and he can box at range. And he has pop in his hands as well. So that'd be interesting. I'm not sure Bivol's experienced enough yet. I still think Canelo might, and also I don't think Bivol's because Bivol they were talking about him fighting at super middleweight, so I don't think he's the biggest of light heavies. So that'd be an interesting fight as well. But yeah, at 160, I don't see Triple G beating him at 160. And at 168, I don't really see anybody else beating him. To be honest,
Dave, you saw the latest inductees for the Hall of Fame announced recently. Someone left off the list was James Toney, and a lot of people were saying because obviously he was caught in the past with PEDs. Now, someone like Canelo, and I've read a lot of criticism over the last couple of days that he will always be remembered for someone who got caught with, clenbuterol.
Mexican meat.
But we know clenbuterol doesn't give you that skill set. It doesn't give you the defense.
No, okay. So this is the thing, right? Is if you've cheated, you've cheated, right? And that's for the physicalities of that's what they've used it for. The physicality to drop weight, make you stronger, make you fitter, your endurance and whatever. But that doesn't do anything for your boxing skills. It doesn't mean it's right. It means you're cheating. You know, and if you've been busted for cheating, then you cheat. The issue is he still cheating? I don't know. He keeps passing his tests, and they keep having random tests. They keep, they're doing the VADA stuff, and he keeps passing his tests. But these days, it's that cloudy that you just don't know. You just don't know. And when the guys have got that much money and they have the best people around them, and they have, these guys at the top where the money is just ridiculous, the chemists and the people that they have on their team are one step in front of VADA, one step in front of any drug testing agency, because they will have shit that probably hasn't even been discovered yet. There's no test for it yet. They have masking agents. You know, it's fucked up. It really is, and it's at a point now where, also the other things, we're coming off a pandemic where there's not been much drug testing going on, so you don't know. You just don't know. But he's not been caught for a long time, so you can't say, "Oh yeah, he's cheating, he's cheating, he's cheating." You can't. He's got caught once, and they said it was Mexican beef. I don't believe that, but apparently it is such a thing. You know, it is a fact that does happen. But it's just convenient. And I said it at the time, it's a case of, if you know that Mexican beef contains that and you've got this big fight coming up, why would you eat that meat from that place? Because you know that you could fail a drug test like that. So again, I'll go back to when you've got that sort of money, you don't need to eat Mexican beef. If you want a nice steak, go somewhere else for it. Get it in from somewhere else. You've got that kind of, you're not some poor guy in Guadalajara that can only afford the meat that he gets from the local supermarket and local shop. You get your food brought in, especially for your diet, for your nutrition. So for that reason, I don't believe in that shit. But it's passed every test since, so you can't say anything. But regardless of the cheating side of things, on the PED side of things, for actual boxing skills, you have to say it's fucking brilliant. You know, you have to say what he's doing is brilliant, how he's improved it, you know, and I rate him. And I am a fan of that side of him. But it's like, where do you stop? That's the problem with this sport now. That's the problem with it. It's like, it's a viable question for the guys that are on that kind of money. It really is. Especially when there's a swing, when, you know, like I said, when there's a reversal of aging or anything like that, then you're going to think, oh, okay.
Dave, I'll end on this. Putting promotional rivalries aside, TV networks aside, if you had 2 fights you can make in 2021 that you would like to see.
Easy.
I know.
Easy.
Oh, I think I could probably I can guess the one. Fury Joshua, I guess.
Mm.
And the second one?
Crawford Spence. I'd love to see that. And if flights and shit were cool and fans were allowed, I'd love to go to that one. That's, you know, I went to Ward Kovalev, and I would love to go to, as a fan, not working anything. I went to Ward Kovalev, and I would love to go to Crawford Spence. Fucking that's a fight. That is a fight. Great fight. Tell you another one as well. Is at super featherweight, Lomachenko against Gervonta Davis. That's another one. I'd love to see that one. So yeah, those, and plus obviously AJ Fury, obviously. But yeah, those 3 are the fights that I would love to see in 2021, and I think would be so exciting. I think they'd be brilliant.
I think certainly the fans deserve those fights after the year we've had in 2021.
Yeah, it's just like you say, it's a case of promoters getting their heads together. You know, it's the problem is that I find with a lot of promoters is the promoters' egos. You know, that's the problem. Because yes, the fighters have got egos, but the fighters are fighters, and you know, that's
you say that, is it?
They're in the sport with.
Look at what Canelo's done now. Is he's taking himself away from a network and a promoter. He's now free to fight anywhere he wants. So he fought Callum Smith on DAZN. He can go and fight Charlo on Fox, PBC, Showtime, and he can move around now. You know, it gives him that flexibility. Is that something that fighters should do, or do you believe because?
Yeah, but you can only do that. You can only do that because you Canelo.
Yeah.
You can only do that because you're so big. You know, because you are the guy that everyone's going to tune in to watch. So you can do that. When you're just normal world champions, or when you're just normal fighters, you can't. But like I said, is just the problem is what you get is, say if you're Bob Arum and you're bitter towards, I don't know, another Eddie Hearn, right? Bob Arum and Eddie are always having back and forth, but they've worked together in the past, so there should be a pathway there. But just say, if for those two, because those two, they've both got egos, they've both got, a lot to say about each other and themselves. But if that is getting in the way of making a super fight, then that's wrong. Like say Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren. If their personalities are getting in the way of getting the fight done, it's wrong, because it's not about them. Yes, they're putting the shows on, and the dialogue should just be basically about what the fighters are getting and how you're going to do the split. The problem is when two fighters start bitching at each other and slagging each other over social media or in interviews, calling each other out, fights get made. Yeah, fights get made. When two promoters start bitching at each other and start arguing with each other over social media or interviews, fights don't get made. That's realistically, that's how it happens, isn't it? And I just think, maybe it's just a case of, just to get the job done, maybe just think, not just Eddie Hearn and Bob Arum or Frank Warren. I'm talking about Bob Arum, PBC, and all, whatever networks it is. You don't have to like somebody to get the fights made, to do the business. If you don't like him, just let your right-hand man deal with it. Just let somebody in the office deal with it, and you sign it off, and this is what it needs to be done, blah blah. But a lot of times the personalities kind of like end up having the breakdowns, and that's unfortunately that's where some fights do get blocked. Don't get me wrong, a lot of times it's the fighters, but they hide behind the promoters, and saying, no, I'm not taking this, I'm not taking that, and the promoters are there saying, well, it's fucking good, it's a good payday, it's right, let's do it, and no, they're being stubborn. I've seen that. There's a lot that goes off the reason why a lot of these big fights don't happen.
Okay, Dave, firstly, lastly, just want to say thank you for all your generous time over the course of 2020, sorry. See, I'm already ahead of 2021. 2020.
I wish it was the end of 2021, to be honest. I think 2022 will be back to normal, I think.
Always very generous. Whenever I message you or anyone else from the team, you always quickly respond. So you're definitely one of the nicest guys in the sport.
No, thanks.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks, mate. I appreciate it.
Wish you, yourself and your family continued health, and also a happy festive season and a new year. And I'm sure the pestering will continue in 2021 when I say, Dave, let's do an interview.
No problem, mate. Listen, thanks a lot for always picking up the phone or dropping me a message. I appreciate that. And all the guys at IFL, as usual, done a cracking job in progressing the sport and keeping us out there and keeping people talking about the fighters, keeping them up to date about what's going on, the backstories, everything. It's there's a lot of graft that goes behind the scenes, and I see this. A lot of people that just if you're not involved in the sport, you don't see what you have to put. You don't see how you can be waiting literally all day for 2-minute interview. Hanging about thinking that you're going to get one in an hour, but you're waiting 6 hours. I've seen all that. I've never kept waiting 6 hours, but yeah, I've seen all that. So I've got a lot of respect for you guys, and you've done great again this year, especially with the content, keeping it up despite the low amount of shows and the pandemic and everything. So well done to you guys as well. And just want to say to all the boxing fans, everybody tuned in, thanks a lot for the support of my fighters. Appreciate your interest in what we do. And I hope you have a great Christmas and a much, much better 2021.
Dave Coldwell, IFL TV, thank you very much.
Cheers, man.
Garcia continue his rapid ascent.
Campbell. This is something that comes along every now and then in generation, and it's special, and there's no hype.
Is your debt causing you sleepless nights? Knock your debt out with Debt KO. And your debt won't be the only thing keeping you up at night. Debt KO, free, impartial advice on all your debt.